Simon Sidebottom here, speaker, author, and trainer, and I go around and teach sales organizations and leadership teams how to grow trust and influence with their customers and their team members to generate more revenues and higher profits. Today, let's talk about how we motivate our sales team. That's right. How do we motivate them? How do we keep them moving? How do we keep them going instead of just month to month with little gimmicks and giveaways? Okay? Because here's the deal. Most giveaways, they last about a month. You can do short-term things when it's like a contest, right? And I've seen all different kinds of people that go out there and do different contests. Like you can get those, the WWF kind of weight wrestling belts that the guy's going to wear if they get more mortgages than somebody else. And they walk around with a little swagger and show it off. And that motivates people for a short term. But we need to make sure that they stay motivated long term. And in this video, we're going to talk to you on how to do that effectively. Okay? So let's get into this. Here's what we need to be doing with our team to keep them moving forward all the time. We need to make sure that our culture is that of growth. That's right. We need to constantly be investing in our teams if we want them to grow. Because if we're not investing in them and they're not investing in themselves, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to grow. And if they don't grow, they're not going to get any better. So we need to make sure that we're motivating them by investing in them. It's kind of like farming. And I know everybody sits there and thinks of sales like you're going off and killing a sale or you're hunting a sale, but it should be more like farming. We need to cultivate the ground, we need to plant the seeds, we need to water and fertilize, pull out the weeds, and then we get to harvest. A great harvest where we can eat for a long time, right? We need to make sure that we're cultivating our sales team, investing in them, training them. And I always say do one training a year with your sales team. Now, what does that training look like? Well, it can be virtual, but I recommend bringing everybody together at least once a year to sit down and go through a training together. By doing that, they will actually start building bonds together and they'll be learning together and you get that coercion and everybody starts bonding, right? Well, here's the deal. After that training, you hold everybody back to go over best practices. It's kind of like a debrief. The military does this. Professional sports do this. They watch the game tape. The military will go and do a debrief after every mission and practice to make sure we're doing everything to the best of our abilities, where we got bogged down, where we can be more efficient. We need to do that with our sales team. So having that in our process of how we train them, of bringing them in, debriefing after the training, you'll gain some different insights. Because everybody's drinking from a water hose at that point, right? Kind of like one of those big fire hoses, those big ones where they're shooting tons of water out. Yeah, that's kind of how a lot of the trainings go. Well, when you do this debrief, everybody's going to sit down and go, okay, what did we learn? What are some big takeaways? And someone's going to give a perspective that somebody else didn't actually catch on, and they're going to go, oh, I missed that. Great. And they're going to learn from each other. And they're going to grow together. Kind of like iron sharpens iron. When you're trying to sharpen a knife, use another piece of metal that's as sharp or sharper to actually make the knife sharper, right? So we need to make sure that we are growing our teams, and having these debriefs will do a lot to benefit that. Now, after that training and after the debrief, I also recommend doing at least a day of competitive training. That's right. That's where we have each person on the sales team stand up and train about how the competition is selling against us, new competition's products, all of these aspects to actually train each other. Here's why. When they actually train each other, they actually learn the stuff. The best way to learn something is to actually teach somebody. So we need to make sure that we're teaching them on a basis. And doing this training after our other training will help it come in to be more formal and learned quickly. And by having us do this training, well, we're going to learn and everybody's going to learn, and we're going to come together and formulate a plan during that on how we go off and sell against the competition better because we're studying the competition. If you're not studying the competitive landscape, you're at a loss because they're studying you. So we need to make sure that we're doing that. Everybody will get better, okay? Now, I also recommend that you do that training. You also supplement that with books or podcasts. And that's right, books, the boring things, the pieces of paper that you read through. Now, I've been reading about 12 books a year, and I read about 10 pages a day. I'm a slow reader, but 10 pages a day, in 1 month, I can do about 300 pages. Most business books, most sales books are less than 300 pages. So I get through 12 books a year. Now, if you're just starting out with your team, maybe it's one a quarter. But in your weekly or monthly sales calls that you're talking with the team members, sit down and take 5 to 10 minutes of what we learned out of the book, of whatever we've read or what podcast it was. What is one thing we can take away? And you don't need to focus on everything, just one thing we can take away, one tool we can put in our toolbox. By doing so, you're going to constantly be growing. And if we want to motivate our team, when they see investments in us and people helping us, they're going to grow. They're going to want to do better. They're going to want to fight alongside of us to succeed. So we want to have those kind of trainings. And we need to make sure we have a sales process set up that's easily for us to repeat and answer the 5 buying decisions for the customers in the right order so we don't become commodities. Because if you become a commodity, the only differentiating factor is price. So we want to make sure we have trainings. We want to make sure we're supplementing those trainings, investing in the people, and making sure we have a solid sales process. If we do that, we'll be successful, and so will our team. We won't have to worry about the motivation because they're going to be growing and loving it and working with you. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. All my information is below. If you like this video and it's helpful, hit like, share, subscribe. Send to somebody you think it might help. That's why I do these videos. We'll see you next time.